This is Warhawk Beyond 2040, and welcome to another edition of the Jazz Albums Review Series. And today I am going to be taking a look at the very short and impressive catalogue from one of the most respected bass players to come out of Algeria. And he's been around for over 3 decades, since the 1980s, and he's played and collaborated with a number of different artists, from Aldo Romano to Marc Ducret to Horace Parlan to Martial Solal to Lee Konitz to Dino Saluzzi to Dewey Redman to Erik Truffaz and Archie Shepp. And he is also a member of the ELB trio with Vietnamese guitarist Nguyên Lê and drummer Peter Erskine. And he is also best known for his long and ongoing association with saxophonist Andy Sheppard, who he has recorded with over the years on most of his albums and projects. So, the gentleman I'm talking about is, of course, the one and only Algerian bassist, composer, and bandleader Michel Benita. And for today's edition, I am going to be taking a look at his ECM catalogue, which is comprised of 2 studio recordings. And as always, I am going to be talking about each album individually and choosing which one I think is the best one. Quite a difficult challenge here when you've only got 2 albums to compare to instead of an entire catalogue. But I think with a guy like Michel Benita, who is an outstanding bass player in his own right, both of these albums are really good, both different, but not too similar by any means. Both band albums, and as I said, the format and the way both of these albums are structured, they're both worlds apart. But at the same time, I think with both of these albums, I think they're fantastic, well recorded, as you'd expect from ECM. Excellent production, beautiful music, very laid back, not a lot of burn to them. There's not like any wildness or any avant-garde feel to it. They're both very laid back and perfect music for just wanting to relax and unwind. So I think these 2 albums are definitely worth checking out for someone who's looking to get into more of the recent stuff from the ECM label. So, as I said, Michel Benita, he's been around since the 1980s. He has recorded with a number of different labels, but as I said, we're going to be taking a look at his ECM catalogue of albums. So we're going to start with the first album, which came out in 2016, and this features his working band called FX. This one is called River Silver. So the first time I became aware of Michel Benita, I was looking around trying to find some different bass players I wanted to listen to, and I came across an Andy Sheppard album, and I was interested to see what the bass player was like with him, which was Michel Benita. So I typed in his name on YouTube, and one track of his came up, which is on this album, called Back from the Moon, and I was completely blown away. I just thought, holy cow, this sounds like So Mates Secretly Begin by the Pat Metheny Group, but it's got a trumpet, it's got a koto, there's electronics, it's got acoustic bass, of course, as I know, but wow, this sounds like the Pat Metheny Group, but a lot more slower. Really enjoyable. So after that one track, I thought, if I ever see a copy of the album that the track was featured on, I'm definitely getting it. And I did, and it's a fantastic album from start to finish. And the band he's got on this album, which makes up of his FX working group, very diverse. They're all different, but they all bring something to the table, and these guys can really, really play. So his band FX is comprised of Michel Benita on bass, Philippe Garcia on drums, Eivind Arset on guitars and electronics, Maiko Miyazaki on koto, and Mathieu Michel on flugelhorn. Quite an amazing collection of musicians assembled. And the tracks we got here are Back from the Moon, River Silver, Icy Altitudes, Off the Coast, Yivering, Tunari, Heichi Gatsu, Lyken, and Snowed In. Lovely collection of songs. Let's have a look at what we got here. So there's the musicians who play on the album. There's the band Ethics in action. And there's the tracks, and there's the man himself. So all of the compositions are written and composed by Michel Benita, with the exception of one track written and composed by Catherine Tikiel, and one track written and composed by Maiko Marizaki, and one written by Yuvind Alnes. So very much a band effort. So tracks we got here are Back from the Moon, the title track River Silver, Icy Altitudes, Off the Coast, Yivering, Tunari, Hachi Gatsu, Lyken, and Snowed In. Brilliant collection of songs we got here. And there's some of the members of Ethics and the other members of Ethics as well. And a gorgeous shot of the river, hence the title River Silver. Beautiful picture. And production notes as well. So excellent collection of music. Standout tracks for me are Back from the Moon, River Silver, Yivering, Tunari, Lyken, and Snowed In. But I think all of the songs on this album are fantastic, well written, and well played. I think it's a really lovely album. So if you're looking to get into Michel Benita's music, this is the perfect album to start with. Although he's only got two, I think this one's really stands out on its own. And as I said, if you like that sort of style of laid back music like the Pat Metheny group, I think this would be definitely one to check out. So there you have it, Michel Benita Ethics, River Silver, a beautiful album with some outstanding playing from Benita on the bass, lovely playing by Maiko on the koto, which gives it that ancient Chinese sort of flavour. Matthew's flugelhorn, very, very soothing. And Evnid Araset, who plays guitars and electronics, I think is the real difference maker here, because he provides a lot of soundscapes and just really fills up the music, and it's just very, very pleasing. And Philip Garcia is just a great drummer. He really gives the music a nice beat. I just think the whole band just sounds amazing. So there you have it. Michel Benita Ethics, River Silver. So we move on to the next album, which came out in 2020. And this album is slightly different to River Silver. This one's a little bit more experimental, but still on the laid back side of things. And whereas the first album was more of a quintet effort, this next album is a little bit more different. This is more of a quartet affair, and this one is called Looking at Sounds. So we've got two members of Benita's working band Ethics, and we've also got a different musician here playing Fender Rhodes and electronics. So Michel Benita on bass and laptop, Matthew Michel on flugelhorn, and Philip Garcia on drums and electronics, and Joseph Dumoulin on Fender Rhodes and electronics. So a bit more of a smaller affair as opposed to the much larger affair on the last album, River Silver, but still a great continuation nonetheless. So tracks we got here are Dervish Diva, Berceuse, Guel Tao In, Looking at Sounds, the title track, Barocco, Slick Team, Cloud to Cloud, Body Language, Elysian, Inutil, Paisagem, Islander, Low Tide, and Never Never Land. Great, interesting set of material we've got here. So let's have a look. So just mostly the tracks, and also on the back here we got any place on what. So there's a few standards here, unlike River Silver, which was more of a band effort and featured more original material. Here is just a bit of a mix-up here. So we've got some originals and we've also got some standards as well. So most of the material is either written or co-written by Michel Benita, with some contributions from Mathieu Michel and also from Dumoulin. So as I said, it's more of a band effort. Michel Benita obviously is the main writer slash composer, and as I said, we've got some standards here as well. So the first track, Dervish Diva, is like almost 7 minutes long, and the longest track on here, which is the title track, is like 8 minutes and 39 seconds long. So it's kind of like a half and half of everything. So there's some long tracks, there's some short tracks, but overall it's a pretty good collection of music we got here. So Dervish Diva, which is written and composed by Michel Benita and Mathieu Michel. Berceuse, written and composed by Christian Nogez and Guel Tallinn, which is written and composed by Michel Benita. Looking at Sounds by Michel Benita. Barocco by Michel Benita. Slick Team by Michel Benita. Cloud to Cloud by Benita, Dumoulin, and Michel and Garcia, so pretty much written and composed by the entire band. Body Language by Michel Benita. Elysian by Michel Benita, and then we got a standard called Inutil Paesgem by Antonio Carlos Jobin and Luis Oliveira. Islander by Michel Benita, Low Tide by Michel Benita, and Never Neverland by Jules Stein, Betty Comden, and Adolphe Green. So quite an interesting, diverse of music and different composers for this music. So standout tracks for me is the title track, Looking at Sounds, Dervish Diva, Slick Team, Cloud to Cloud, Body Language, Islander, and Low Tide. But very enjoyable album. Bit more on the experimental side, but still very enjoyable. There's still some great, great music on here, I think. It's a really good boy here. And as I said, it's a bit more of a quartet album as opposed to the first one. So, I do miss the koto on here. I thought the koto, really gave it a bit more of a different feel. But at the same time, I think this album was really good. So there you have it, Michel Benita, Looking at Sounds. Great follow up to River Silver. Fantastic stuff. So, which album out of Michel Benita's ECM catalogue do I think is the best one? Well, there's only two albums to choose, and the one I'm going with, it's a no brainer. Michel Benita Ethics River Silver. I think this one is his best one out of the two. Very pleasing, very enjoyable. I love the koto sound to the music. As I said earlier, really gives it that ancient Chinese flavour. The flugelhorn, the guitars, and the electronics gives it that atmospheric sound, and the guitars gives a lot of soundscapes as well. The drumming and the bass playing, everything about this album is just top notch, and I think this is a really recent years from the ECM label. Looking at Sounds is a good album, bit more on the experimental side, but still highly enjoyable. But this album is really lovely and a great listening experience. So there you have it. Michel Benita Ethics, River Silver, excellent album. So that's going to be it from me. I'm going to wrap this up now. What's your favourite album from Michel Benita's ECM catalogue? Is it River Silver or Looking at Sounds? There's no right or wrong answer. We all have our favourite albums. You know what to do, guys. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, leave your thoughts and comments down below, and I will see all of you next time for another edition of the Jazz Albums Review. Series. So until next time, take care, everybody, and stay safe. And once again, as always, much appreciated. Thanks for listening.